Hey everyone again. This should still be day one of class. I usually would, after introing the class, spend maybe like 10 minutes going over some real basics, I don't say notes the first day, but it should go pretty fast usually. So first, I just wanted to add a couple things, and since it is day one, many of you I know me through brothers or sisters who've taken the class, or brothers or sisters who've gone on like a senior Greece trip, or coaching cross country or baseball or something. So I've been at Green Hope now. This is year 20, year 25 teaching, 26 coaching high school. So I've been at it for a while. I've been teaching AP government really since my first year. So every single year, except for the first year I was at Green Hope, was the first year with seniors, and they did not have this class that year. So I started it back in 02, 03. So I've been doing this for a while, and I graded 4 times, actually physically went somewhere and graded the AP test for the College Board. And then this year in June, the end of June, I spent a few days, 4 days, reading about 3,000 essays and grading for the College Board. So I've done that for a while. So hopefully I'll be able to really help you get prepared for the AP test. But again, I'm around school a lot. Again, anytime we're in school, I'm not good with this remote learning stuff. I'll be saying that a lot, I'm sure. Not so much not good with remote learning. I'm not very good on camera. I think I'm a lot better in person when we have a lot of interaction in the classroom. So anyway, I just wanted to add another thing for the class. It will be a lot easier. And again, I don't know what format this will take this year, but it's going to be a lot easier if you print or save on your computer or something the documents, the all notes document here. So this is also in Google Classroom, and on the syllabus and in the previous video, I gave you that access code. So if you get into Google Classroom, just you print off this note outlines. If there's going to be some in-class time, it will help. But even if you're watching some of the presentations online and you want to kind of fill out notes as you go, it might be a good idea. What I do basically, so today we're going to just go over this here on the left, but you don't really need to add anything to that, so there's no reason to have notes printed out for today. But normally I would be in class and I would, maybe we would go from American democracy to pre-revolution over here, and I would put whatever is on the note outlines, I would put on the board. And then we would just add to it as we go through class. So maybe, and normally I would not, normally class is going to be a lot of back and forth, hopefully get you smiling and laughing and telling stories and stuff. But it is also convenient, I think, for you guys that if you have the note outlines, and again, I won't just like straight out lecture like I was used to in the old days, but we will be going over some stuff, trying to make sure you understand some stuff. And so it is nice that if you have the note outlines printed out and you do take notes, that if you say got through this word Confederate here one day and then you missed a day and you showed up and we were doing results of the French-Indian War, you would know that this section in here, Greece and Rome down through the state government's part, that part you missed and you need to get notes from someone, or and maybe in this case go watch one of the videos or something that I hopefully have done throughout the year. So anyway, note outlines are good just to kind of fill in, know where we are in the class, and then my free responses always come from notes. So it's not from books or online stuff or whatever. It's just kind of what we've covered in class, some big general topics, and so that's important to remember too. Now, for this class, this is going to appear over here on the left. Is going to appear as it is. Some will say Republicans against Democrats, and don't necessarily think that that's the way it is. And in some cases it may be, but not necessarily. So everybody. So you can, on all the topics we do in this class, we usually start off very, very quick at the beginning of each chapter and mentioning elite democracy and popular democracy. Like, what are ways you can view how democracy should work? So if you believe in elite democracy, just as I'm talking sort of, you can look down that column on the left and then popular democracy on the right. And as we go through this, just kind of think, which of the two, elite or popular democracy, do I identify with more? Like, which one sounds more like the way I think? And you may overlap on some of these. You may, totally change your mind as the year goes or whatever, but that's fine. So So elite democracy kind of starts out with a fundamental sort of starting point that people aren't very smart, that people are not that informed on issues. Now, it's hard sometimes in class. They'll say, "Oh, people are dumb," or people in the class will kind of take to that, stupid people or stupid masses of people or whatever. But this is based on the belief that not that people are dumb and they don't know how to put one foot after another, and they'll walk straight into a brick wall and do it over and over. It is people don't know much about topics that government officials would be working with often. So like if it was a healthcare bill, or if it was a transportation bill, or if it was something about foreign policy with Syria or something, that people aren't very smart on those things. And so, you know what? So people believe in elite democracy are like, yeah, people aren't very smart, so just kind of whatever. What the public opinion polls show, don't worry about that. On the right side here, popular democracy, this side they also believe people aren't necessarily that smart, but the thinking is people will get involved and will learn about things that they really care about, and so we should give some credibility to their views in that case. So people will participate in decisions that affect their lives or they really care about. So like if it is something, again, right now, since I'm doing this in early July, there's all kinds of protests with Black Lives Matter and Confederate statues and all kinds of other symbols and stuff that get people fired up. So the thinking would be that regular people out there, they can learn enough about those topics, have an opinion, and if polls go one way or the other, then maybe politicians should react to those polls. They should kind of do what the people want. But anyway, so the masses of people, the masses, we say like most people who are poorer and they're not like so they're rich elites. That's who we're talking about. The second one down, elite democracy, the masses are highly intolerant and emotional. The thinking is, don't forget the masses because they're going to flip out. They're going to, whether it's riot or break stuff or, whatever it is, emotional or intolerant or whatever. And it could be on like the far right or it could be on the far left. So it could be whoever. It could be people. I was watching the news last night and it was, people were standing in freeways in cities in America and they're lining up across the street so traffic can't go anywhere, and they were surrounding some cars and not letting them move because they're causing disturbances to bring sort of attention to their cause. And so some would say, oh, they're a bunch of idiots, they're emotional, they're crazy, whatever. And others will say, no, that's their power that they have as sort of regular masses. That's what they have to do to impact change. So elites would believe, if you go down the fourth one down, the goal of democracy is to protect people's right to pursue their interests, and there'll always be inequality. Well, on the right side, just to the right of that, unpopular Democrats would believe the goal of democracy should be to strengthen the community and lessen inequality. So just think those two. Just take those two and just think on your own. Which side do you agree with more? The goal of the government and democracy is to protect your right to try to get a job you want and get land and make money or whatever, but there's always going to be inequality. Or should the goal of our country be to maybe if some people are really rich and some people are really poor, should it be to shrink this gap so that people are more similar? So that should it be, in some cases people would say like tax the rich a lot more and make sure poor people have more money or get free things or whatever, so that we can shrink that gap, because the goal of our country should be to strengthen the community and have everybody be sort of more equal. If you take those two, I know generally which one Green Hope people side with. It's been changing a little over the years, but there's good and bad on both. I know that when I was in high school, I had a teacher who was really, really, really liberal, and he used to tell us he was a registered communist. But he used to always say that one on the left side here, the goal of democracy under elite democracy, is to protect people's right to pursue their interests and there'll always be inequality. One of the things he used to say, hey, you look at our students and people are being stupid in class, and he was politically incorrect too. He would say, you keep messing up, you keep not doing your work, you keep failing tests or something, then hey, somebody has to pump my gas. And that for you doesn't mean as much, probably, because unless you're in, I think it's New Jersey, most of everybody gets out of their car and pumps their gas. But in the old days, there were a lot of, and sometimes only, filling. You had to have someone at a gas station attendant fill your gas. So you'd pull up, you just wait, someone come over and they take the gas pump off and they fill your gas. Well, that's not a job many people aspire to. That wasn't a high paying job. It was kind of a crappy job in a sense, for lack of a better term. And so some people would say, well, too bad. That's the way it is. You're not going to make everybody have the same amount of money or whatever. Some people are winners, some people are losers, and that's the way it is. Some people will be CEOs, some people will pump gas. So on the other side, on the other hand, do you want to raise the minimum wage? Do you want to help people at the bottom more and sort of bring them up? So anyway, below that, elites can filter the views of the public through their expertise, while people who believe in popular democracy think representatives should basically do what the majority of the people want. So think about this. So the two out of these lists that I think is most important you to think about and which side you are on is that fourth one down, goal of democracy. What is it? Okay. Shrink inequality, or what, sometimes people are going to lose and there will be inequality. Which side are you on there? And then the other one is what is right for our representatives to do? If we elect as a state someone to Senate, Congress, or president, and they get in that position, and they're there now for 2 years or 4 years or 6 years or whatever, and they're in that position, should they do what they feel is best for the country or for their community, or should they do what they know their people want? Because that might be something different. So I want you to just think about that and think, and what would you do? Would you say, oh boy, all the polls say 70% of the people in my state want this, even though I don't necessarily agree, I'll go with that because that's what democracy is. So should the representative do what the people want? Or if the representative goes, boy, 70% of the people want that, but most people are dumb, sorry, I'm going to do what I think is best. Like, do you think that's okay to go that way? So just think about those two, especially. I'm not going to go to the last one right now. But so as we go through the year on all these different topics, especially foreign policy is one of the ones that this really becomes an issue, I think. But and even as you maybe see the news and there's all these different things happening in the world, and whether it's the pandemic and Black Lives Matter and protests against whether it's names of towns or mascot names or school names. It's happened right here in Wake County, or there's all kinds of things that are in the news right now. Should the politicians do what they feel is best for the country, or should the politicians do what they know their people want based on polls or whatever? So think about that one, and then think about the one about what the cold democracy really is. So that is, that's usually, and again, we're in class, we have a little bit of back and forth on those two. Those two, we can really get people talking a little bit usually and arguing. But that is all I have to cover for today. So since this is still day one, these two videos, just make sure you if you want to print out the note outlines, you do that, just because I will be doing some, I guess, a little short lecture tomorrow, and you want to follow along with notes, you can. So for tonight, you are doing the case brief, printing out the note outlines if you want, signing up for Google Classroom, and taking that political survey. So that's all I have. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.